So, good day, welcome to my class, and for today, our subject is creative writing. So, welcome to the another series of our lesson. So, this chapter talks about creative writing, various elements, techniques, and literary devices in specific forms of poetry. So, for today, we are talking about what is theme, what is tone, the rhyme scheme in poetry. So that's our lesson for today. So let's start. So if we're going to define theme, so what is theme? So theme is a life lesson, meaning, moral, or message about life or human nature that is communicated by a literary work. So always remember, theme is a life lesson, meaning, moral, or message about life or human nature. Or in other words, theme is what the story teaches readers. Now, a theme is not a word. Always remember, theme is not a word. It's a sentence. So you don't have to agree with the theme to identify it. For example, money can't buy happiness. Don't judge people based on the surface, or it is better to die free than live under tyranny. So those are the example of theme. Let's always remember, theme is not a word, it's a sentence. Now, if we're going to read the story, so let's identify what is the theme in the story. Let's read. Jenny Puchevier was so excited. She had a pack of Starburst in her lunch, and she had been looking forward to eating them all morning. Lunch finally came, and Jenny sat down to eat her Starburst when her friend Judy sat next to her. "Let me get the pink ones," asked Judy. Jenny liked the pink ones best, but she thought Judy was funny and Jenny wanted Judy to like her. So Jenny gave Judy of her pink starbursts. Before Jenny was done giving Judy the pink ones, Carrie sat on the other side of Jenny. "Let me give the red and the orange ones." "Jenny, remember when I gave you that Snickers?" Jenny didn't remember that, though she did remember when Carrie ate a whole Snickers in front of her. But Jenny thought Carrie was cool, so she gave her the red and the orange starburst. Now that she only had the yellow ones, Jenny wasn't so excited about eating starburst anymore. So what do you think is the theme in the story? The theme in the story is you cannot buy friends, or you have to take care of yourself, or not everybody is your friend. Now, in identifying themes, themes are not explicit or clearly stated. Sometimes we have to think what is the theme in the story. Themes are implied or indirect, and themes are bigger than the story. So a small world of the story or the big world of the theme applies to the real world. Now, themes are about the picture, not yellow starbursts taste bad, not Judy and Carrie are bad friends. We have to think bigger. Alright, we have to think more than that, so we have to find the real world advice. Now, so let's have a review. So theme is what we can learn from a story, and themes must be inferred, and themes are about the big world. So let's start practicing. And number one, we're going to read each story, and then you're going to write what you think the theme is, and then write another sentence explaining what happens in the story that leads you to believe this. So, how does the small world of the story connect to the big world theme? Let's start. So, practice number one, our first story. Let's read. Once, there was a mean little boy who lived in a small village. This mean little boy loved to mess with people. So one day, he ran up to a sheep herder and shouted, "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is attacking the town!" The sheep herder grabbed his staff and ran to defend the town, but realized he had been fooled when the boy started pointing and laughing at him. "Ha ha ha! I made you jump," said the boy. Then the boy ran up to a farmer and shouted, "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is attacking the town." The farmer grabbed his pitchfork and ran to defend the town. But when the boy started pointing and laughing at him, he realized he had been tricked. As the boy went back to his family's farm laughing about the funny trick he played, he saw a real wolf in his father's chicken coop. As the wolf ate all his father's chickens, the boy screamed over and over again, "Wolf! Wolf! Please help us!" But nobody came to help him. So, what is the theme in this story? Alright, so the theme in the story is don't ask for help unless you really need it, or don't play tricks on the people around you. So that's the theme in the story. So let's have another story. Angie loved to draw. She made colorful designs of people's names with bright hearts and flowers, but she lost all markers. So she borrowed her teacher's. The school day was ending, but Angie wanted to keep coloring, so she took the teacher's markers home and lost them in her messy room. She came back to school the next day and wanted to color again, so she asked the teacher for more markers. The teacher replied, "Sure, Angie, but this is my last pack." Angie said she would be careful, but by the end of the day, the markers were scattered all over the floor and the custodian swept them up and disposed of them. When Angie came in the next day, she asked the teacher for more markers, but she was disappointed to find that there were not any more. "I don't know where all my markers went," said the teacher, "but I don't have them." Angie had to draw her pictures with drab pencils. So what is the theme in this story? Alright, so the theme in this story is you have to take care of shared resources or some things will not replenish after they are exhausted. So that's the example of the theme in the story. Next example. Another story. Jenny hated reading class. She didn't understand point of view or figurative language, and not knowing how to do the work frustrated her. She asked the teacher for help, but he spoke so fast and used such big words that she could not understand. The teacher asked if she understood, and she nodded her head, but she didn't. Jenny's friend Kitty knew that Jenny was having trouble, and rather than just giving Jenny all of the answers, Kitty explained to Jenny how to solve the problems. Kitty spoke clearly and at Jenny's level, and Jenny was happy that she finally learned how to do the work. Later in the week, Kitty was having trouble in the math class. She didn't understand coordinates and was really frustrated. Seeing that Kitty was having problems, Jenny, who understands math very well, taught Kitty coordinates. Both girls made honor roll that quarter. So what is the theme in this story? Alright, the theme in the story is cooperation is the key to success, or we can all do better when we work together. So once again, let's have a recap regarding with what is theme. Always remember, theme is a life lesson, meaning moral or message about life or human nature that is communicated by a literary work, or in other words, theme is what the story teaches readers, and that is theme. The next one is the tone, or the voice of the speaker. When we say tone, tone is the attitude with which the speaker or narrator treats his or her subject. Tone is similar to tone of voice, and at the same time, the same adjectives can be used to describe the narrator's tone. Now, you cannot hear the narrator, so you have to infer the tone from his or her words. Now, let's see the difference between tone and mood. Always remember, tone is not mood. When we say tone, how the narrator or speaker feels about their subjects. When we say mood, how the reader is supposed to feel when reading the work. Basically, when we say tone, that is for narrator, and mood is for reader. Now, these are an example of tone words. So let's start with the first one. So the word anxious, appreciative, concerned, cynical, depressed, foreboding, grateful, grave, hopeful, jealous, loving, melancholy, peaceful, pleasant, respectful, sensitive, timid, and wise. So these are the examples of words that describe tone. Now, let's compare and contrast the first and the second passage. The first passage is life's city ways are dark. Men mutter by the wells of the great water moan, O death, O sea, O tide, the waters moan like bells. No light, no mark, the soul goes out alone on seas unknown. The second passage, the skies are sown with stars tonight. The sea is sown with light. The hollows of the heaving floor gleam deep with light once more. The racing ebb tide flashes past and seeks the vacant vast. A wind steals from a world asleep and walks the restless deep. So let's compare and contrast the first and second passage. If we are going to compare and contrast them, the first thing that we can see is these passages both talk about the sea. So they're talking about the sea. The second one is very dark. The first passage is very dark, and the second passage is dreary. The other is bright and happy. And then tone makes a big difference in the mood. And now let's start practicing the tone. All we have to do is to read the passage and then describe the tone of the narrator or speaker, and then explain your answer using evidence from the text. Let's start. Our first passage is here. Let's read. Piping down the valleys wild, piping songs of pleasant glee. On a cloud I saw a child, and he laughing said to me, Pipe a song about a lamb, so I pipe with merry cheer. Piper, pipe that song again. So I piped, he wept here. What is the tone here in this passage? The tone in this passage is pleasant or happy. Why pleasant or happy? It's because I believe this is because he is piping with merry cheer and piping songs of pleasant glee. This shows that he is very happy. Another example. Dearest, forgive that with my clumsy touch I broke and bruised your rose. I hardly could suppose it were a thing so fragile that my clutch could kill it thus. What is the tone in this passage? The tone in this passage is apologetic or regretful. I believe this because she says, Dearest, forgive. This shows that she feels bad about what she did and she wants forgiveness. Another example. Practice number 3. And still of a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon a cloudy seas, When the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. What is the tone here in this passage? The speaker's tone is spooky or frightening. Why spooky or frightening? It's because she describes the moon as a ghostly galleon or a spooky ship. Another example. Let's read. One asked of regret, and I made reply. To have held the bird and let it fly, to have seen the star for a moment nigh, and lost it through a slothful eye, to have plucked the flower and cast it by, to have one only hope, to die. What is the tone in this passage? The speaker tone is regretful or depressed. Why regretful or depressed? Because, he says, to have only hope or to die. Hoping for death is about as depressing as it gets. That is the tone in this passage. So let's have a recap. When we say tone and mood are different but related. Tone describes the narrator's attitude or voice, while mood is how the reader is supposed to feel. For example, a reader can feel scared for a character even if the narrator is indifferent. And now let's talk about rhyme scheme. When we say rhyme, it's a repetition of similar sounding words occurring at the end of a poem. It is a tool for bringing rhythm in a poem, and at the same time it differentiates poetry from prose. Let's start. Rhyme scheme, it is the pattern of rhyme that comes at the end of each verse or line in poetry. It describes using letters of the alphabet such as A, B, C, D. Poets use it as like their choice. We record rhyming lines with letters. The first two lines that rhyme the same would be A. The next rhyming two would be B, and so on. The rhyming lines not have to come right after another. So we're going to use letters or alphabet such as A, B, C, D to describe our poetry or the rhyming scheme. Let's look into a poem. As you can see, we have AB pattern. Why AB pattern? Let's read the poem first. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lace hath all too short a date. Check all the last words. We have day from the first line and May from the third line. So that is A pattern. Now, the word temperate and date, they have BB pattern. That's why they are AB. Here, the first line rhymes with the third line and the second line rhymes with the fourth line. So it is called AB rhyme scheme. Now, rhymes are used in all types of poetry, but they don't always occur in regular patterns. Always remember, they don't always occur in regular patterns or at the ends of lines. So not all the poems that use rhyme necessarily have rhyme schemes. Rhyme schemes are only used to describe poems that use end rhyme. Now, poems that have rhyme schemes are written in what's known as formal verse. Certain forms of poems, such as sonnets, have a predetermined rhyme scheme. Poets have wanted to write a poems following the rhyme scheme. Now, those are the types of rhyme scheme. The first one is the alternative rhyme. It is also known as AB rhyme scheme. It rhymes as AB, CD, CD, EF, GH. Those are the first or the very normal rhyme scheme. We call it the alternative rhyme. The second one is the couplet. It contains two line stanzas. Using it rhymes with AA, BB, CC. And the third one is a monorhyme. When we say monorhyme, every line rhymes the same. It rhymes A, the same thing. And the fourth one is enclosed rhyme. It uses rhyme scheme of ABBA or ABA. And the fifth one is it contains three stanza, and that is ballad with the rhyme of AB, AB, BC, busy, or following by BC, busy. Now, the functions of rhyme scheme, it is an integral part of the constitution of a poem, which includes meter, length of phrase, and rhythm. It makes language sound more beautiful and thoughtfully composed, pleasant to listen to, and more memorable. And at the same time, it is used to create balance, relieve tension, manage flow, create rhythm, and highlight important ideas. And at the same time, it forms unit of sounds and suggests units of sense. And it communicates the idea in a more effective way. Those are the functions of rhyme scheme. So once again, let's have a recap regarding with rhyme scheme. So poets choose specific schemes for different purposes. For instance, rhyme schemes is in which rhymes are coupled or AABB or alternative to ABAB. That makes them well suited to children's books. But they are simple and tiresome, so the poets who consider their work to be more literary or complex choose to write in a poetic form that uses more elaborate rhyme schemes. And that is rhyme scheme. So once again, thank you for listening, and this is Sir Ace, and have a good day.